What's up guys, and welcome back to Wall Street Millennial. Obviously this past week has been great for most Wall Street Bets users as GameStop shares have soared more than 800% since the initial squeeze on January 13th. Shares continue to soar an additional 150% to $375 a share at the time of recording this video. These gains have come at the expense of hedge funds who have collectively lost more than $6 billion as they have been massively short the stock for a long time. While most people view this as a heartwarming story of retail investors profiting off the incompetence of fat cat billionaires on Wall Street, there are disturbing signs that the reigning elites will use the GameStop short squeeze as an opportunity to shut down Wall Street bets and tighten their control over the financial markets. They can't accept that the supposed genius hedge fund managers on Wall Street could be beaten so badly by the so-called dumb money of individual retail investors, and they are now lashing out in their confusion. For example, this boomer former SEC lawyer says the SEC should start a criminal investigation into Wall Street bets for market manipulation.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the free speech, but what we really have here, in my view, is a kids gaming stock that needs adult supervision. And I think that adult supervision is probably an SEC trading suspension. Everything that's going on is certainly going to invite an SEC investigation. The whole purpose of a trading suspension, which is different than a circuit breakers, is the SEC has the administrative ability to suspend trading when there are questions about the accuracy of publicly available information. And you have this competing dialogue as to what really is going on at the company and what's motivating the trading in the stock, or the shorts and the longs. But also, one of the bases for a trading suspension is a possible or potential stock manipulation. That would be something that the SEC would look at.
He suggests that trading of GameStop shares should be halted for at least 10 days so the SEC can do an investigation. This is obviously insane, as it would deny GameStop traders liquidity to access their shares based on vague, baseless claims of market manipulation. Just because you think a stock is overvalued doesn't mean you can halt the shares. This all stems from the attitude that these boomers have, thinking that they're smarter than everyone else, and if a stock price is too high in their view, it's the market that's wrong and not them. The fact of the matter is that GameStop is no longer a normal brick-and-mortar retail story. With Ryan Cohen on the board, the company is actively transforming itself into a new digital company that can compete with the likes of Amazon and Steam. And with the retailer's e-commerce sales up 800% in the most recent quarter, there's a legitimate bull case to be made about the company's prospects. This turnaround plan is highly uncertain, so the stock price is naturally volatile as investors try to figure out what the new GameStop will look like. While it's possible that shares are now overvalued after the 600% move to the upside, there are legitimate arguments to be made on both sides, and this SEC boomer has no right to demand an investigation into GameStop bulls just because he doesn't like where the stock is trading at. But this isn't even the worst thing he said in the interview.
Let me ask you this question, and I guess I'm just going to play the role of devil's advocate, and from the perspective of what I've read on this Wall Street Bets thread. How is this any different from a couple of hedge funds or a few hedge funds saying that they're going to go short a stock? They've communicated via email. One goes on CNBC or on Twitter and states that they have a short case, puts out a YouTube video. Isn't that the same? Isn't that manipulation, except on a bigger scale? These are bigger shareholders. They have bigger voices. They're the quote unquote smart money on Wall Street. They can get away with it. That's not manipulation.
No, and certainly hedge funds can participate in manipulative activity. There's nothing that that really puts one institution over a series of individuals. When we talk about stock manipulation, I mean, I remember back in 2001, the SEC brought an enforcement case against a 15-year-old high school student for stock manipulation.
This is the most egregious thing he could say. He brings up the case of the SEC bringing market manipulation charges against a 15-year-old kid during the tech bubble in 2001. This is a blatant attempt to intimidate retail traders by making them fear legal consequences for using forums like Wall Street Bets. The vast majority of Wall Street Bets posts regarding GameStop are people having legitimate discussions about the stock and expressing their support for the bull case, as well as game porn, which has become abundant over the past week. All of these posts are protected by the First Amendment and are a far cry from the collusion and deception required to constitute market manipulation.
Has the SEC likely already investigating? And in all likelihood, there's also a parallel criminal investigation, because ultimately, if you get down to it, you marry up the fundamentals of this company with the stock price. I think there are a lot of questions, and the analysts are asking those same questions.
He says there is likely a criminal investigation because he thinks the fundamentals of the company don't match up with the stock price. This is insane. The The logic basically states that if the SEC disagrees with the price of a stock, that this is the basis for a criminal investigation. Stocks are valued in the marketplace by supply and demand. The SEC has no business declaring that certain stocks are undervalued or overvalued because they frankly have no idea. For example, should the SEC have investigated Tesla stock in 2016 when geniuses like Jim Chanos said it was overvalued? What this guy is suggesting is to effectively repeal the First Amendment and criminalize disagreement. If you disagree with his opinion on a stock, you have to be criminally investigated. The real criminal investigation should be on the short sellers who artificially pushed the stock price down to $2.80 during the pandemic lows in March of 2020. At $2.80 per share, GameStop had a market cap of roughly $200 million. They had 5,500 retail locations, so that gave them the meager valuation of $36,000 per store. This was obviously an insane undervaluation, as many of their stores are located in flagship locations, and that's not even giving them any credit for their e-commerce operation on GameStop.com. While part of the undervaluation can be attributed to the general market hysteria surrounding the pandemic at the time, short selling by hedge funds also played a key role. GameStop has been one of the favorite stocks for hedge funds to short over the past 5 years, and it has consistently had insanely high short interest. As of this week, short interest was at 139%, meaning short sellers literally shorted the same shares multiple times. One hedge fund borrows a stock and sells it to someone who lends that same share out to another short seller. This is a shady and opaque practice and causes the stock to be extremely volatile and unstable. So if anyone was trying to manipulate GameStop, it was the short-selling hedge funds. All the Wall Street Bets users did was buy the stock in calls because they thought shares were undervalued, a perfectly legitimate investment decision. Take a look at this interview with the writer at the tabloid Wired magazine for more insights into how those outside of Wall Street Bets think of the subreddit.
I think there were a lot of people on this 2 million person subreddit who thought it was very funny that a struggling, maybe failing mall-based retailer was surging in the markets.
Cecilia, this seems to me like the tick-tocking of Wall Street. I mean, this isn't about the company itself so much as it's about entertainment, right? And people being willing to pay for that entertainment, kind of like they're paying to see a stand-up or go into a comedy club. But there are potentially billions of dollars of investor dollars on the line here. I wonder what's the broader message about where we are as a culture when this happens to a stock?
That's a great question. There's a lot of power in organization online. So 2 million people can get together in a subreddit, think it's really funny that the GameStop stock is going up and just affect the market in that way. There's 20,000 people live in a Discord who are spamming, rocket emojis, yelling, "Go to the moon." And the, collective action here really can put its thumb on the scale and tip things in a direction that is quite unexpected.
The writer at Wired dismissed Wall Street Bets users as just some kids who think it's funny to manipulate markets. The CNBC anchor compares Wall Street Bets users who buy GameStop stock to people who buy admission into a comedy show or other entertainment venue. This is obviously a condescending perspective of what Wall Street Bets is doing. Take, for example, this Wall Street Bets user who posted a heartwarming story of GameStop enabling them to support their mother and pay the medical bills for a sister who has been suffering from Lyme's disease. In highly upvoted comments, Wall Street Bets users say that a lot of people who are making money off GameStop are using the money to pay off college loans, make charitable donations, and pay family bills and mortgages. On the other hand, if that money had stayed in the hands of Melvin Capital, it would remain with the rich and be used to further the wealth gap. The world is a better place with a GameStop short squeeze. Condescension of the Wall Street Bets community is no less than support of the billionaire hedge fund managers and institutional investors who are on the other side of the trade to Wall Street Bets. People don't like seeing other people gain influence in a short period of time, especially those who are traditionally in a position of power like the CNBC contributors. They don't understand what the young people are thinking and judge the subreddit off its non-PG vocabulary. Instead, for some reason, they feel inclined to defend the billionaires who have always had money. By drawing attention to the power that Wall Street Bets has to influence markets, they are prodding the SEC and Justice Department to investigate. However, try as they will, the SEC has no case against anyone on the side of Wall Street Bets. According to investor.gov, an organization under the SEC, market manipulation is when, quote, someone artificially affects the supply or demand for a security. This happens when a person spreads false or misleading information about a company, engages in a series of transactions to make a security look more actively traded than it really is, or somehow rigs quotes, prices, or trades to make it appear that there's more demand than there really is. No one on Wall Street Bets is spreading false or misleading information about GameStop, and the only activity on the exchanges done by Wall Street Bets users is people buying stock and options. There's nothing illegal about that. The short sellers who release short reports on stocks that they actively want to go down is much more questionable, as a case can be made that these reports contain misleading information. It was for this reason that Citron's Andrew Left was banned from securities trading in Hong Kong for short reports he released back in 2012. Despite what the media say, there's no case against Wall Street Bets and no indication that any charges will be brought against Wall Street Bets users. However, it is now more important than ever to be careful with your investments. If GameStop goes back down as quickly as it went up, a lot of people could lose a lot of money. So if you do decide to participate in trading, make sure you do your own due diligence to decide for yourself how much money you are willing and able to risk on this volatile drama. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. If you like the content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Wall Street Millennial, signing out.